Welcome to another edition of the Hope Strategy Podcast. I am Corey Blake, co-host, along with Josh Steinley. What's up, Josh?
Hey.
Today, we have a great episode. We had the chance to talk to Lauren and Tanner Beeston. They've amassed a pretty great following. I think 190,000 followers on Instagram and 30,000 subscribers on YouTube over the past couple months, as well as over 600,000 followers on TikTok. They create really top tier content that's awesome and provide some real value. As far as their bio goes, their official bio, I'll read that a little bit. Lo is a digital creator based on the North Shore of Oahu with a focus on positive lifestyle content. She lives in Hawaii with her husband, Tanner, and baby girl, Ozzy. Lo and her husband work full-time together as social media influencers on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Above all else, family is most important to Lo, and that's what you'll see in the beautiful, raw content that she provides. I know Tanner and Lauren personally, and I've watched their journey from small following on Instagram with a dream to building a really legitimate following and business. And it's been fascinating for me. So I was excited to talk to them. What was your take, Josh?
It's interesting actually diving into details with somebody like this, because the impression you get from the outside is, oh, they're just taking photos. They've got a good camera. They're taking some photos of their family, and these are beautiful people. And they're just having fun all the time, and they're just taking photos of it. And then when you dig into the details, you realize, no, these people are working like crazy. This is a business. This is a job, and it's taking a lot of hard work. I think it's easy for us to make fun of or put down influencers, partly because we're all jealous, but also when you don't understand what goes into it, it seems like it's really narcissistic and it's just all about, hey, look at me. But then when you talk to at least these people, to Lo and Tanner, you see that they have a different mission. Like they're not trying to just get famous or make a bunch of money. Like they have more altruistic motives behind it. And it's kind of fun to see behind the scenes that way.
Yeah, there's such a negative connotation that's kind of formed over the last number of years with the term influencer. I mean, you know this, you have a business called Influencer Inc., right? And there's this connotation of, like you said, that's like narcissistic and vain and whatever. You know, I'm sure there are plenty of influencers out there that fit that mold. I've always been so impressed with Tanner and Lauren for their motives. And you really start to see, and in this episode specifically, you get to see behind the curtain a lot of processes, tools, strategies they're implementing to manage a business at the end of the day, just like anybody else there is trying to manage their business. That's what they're doing. And then we talked a lot about kind of the hope that they see in the world as they're raising a family and as they've started down that road. Again, those hope strategies, right, that they're implementing to see the light at the end of the tunnel and keep making things happen. So I loved it. It was an excellent conversation, and I'm really excited for everyone to hear it. All right. Anything else, Josh?
You know, one question that I wanted to ask, but I forgot to get it in there, was whether there was any one post they ever did that really was like hugely successful and kind of blew things away. I know that when they posted about getting pregnant and that they were going to have their baby, that one went kind of viral. The one that I liked the best, not that I was like super following them, but I was seeing their posts come up and stuff. And it was that one where Tanner was kind of doing like a little workout with their baby, like holding the baby and doing like push-ups and like calisthenics and stuff. And I was like, I don't know, there's something about that I was just like, I mean, I'm a father, I have a daughter, 2 daughters. And so there was something about him just working out with like his daughter laughing and sitting on him and stuff. It was just cute.
Yeah.
So I was just curious if one of their things like really went big, or if they had any like outsized success with any of their campaigns or posts.
I have an entire list of questions we didn't get to, man. I feel like we could talk to these guys a couple of times, but that's their vibe right there. And it's funny because I actually texted Tanner when we were prepping for the interview, and I said, how about we just do an interview talking about CrossFit the entire time? Because they're big into that right now and really good at it. And he responded and said, oh, we could do that easy. So I didn't bring it up and I totally forgot it. So that would have been a great question. Maybe we'll have a chance to talk to them again at some point, and we'll ask that question, because it's been a long journey for them, and they're onward and upward they go. So really enjoyed the conversation. I hope those that already follow Lo Beeston across, all these platforms really get some insight into where they're coming from, the work that goes into this, why they do what they do, some of their process. And those that haven't heard of Lauren and Tanner, get out, go follow them and see what they're all about, because it is just good vibes all around. So without further ado, Lauren and Tanner Beeston.
Something is happening in our world. Time is very precious.
I'm gonna show you how great I am.
Hope in the face of difficulty.
More than machinery, we need humanity.
Hope in the face of uncertainty.
I'm better now than I was. I'm experienced now.
Changing the world can happen anywhere, and anyone can do it.
The audacity of hope.
This is the Hope Strategy Podcast with Corey Blake and Josh Steinley.
We have arrived.
What's up, guys?
Going.
You have arrived figuratively and literally in so many ways.
I do re-download Zoom. It's been a while.
Family business doesn't use Zoom on a day-to-day basis, huh?
No, we usually just run into each other in the bathroom.
Well, thanks, guys, for jumping on. So Josh is here with us. Josh, you want to say hi?
Hey, guys. It's good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, what's up, Josh?
Tanner, I asked Josh earlier if you guys had ever talked before or met, and he said he didn't think so.
No, I don't think we ever had.
Yeah, we might have met like in the comments on an Instagram post or something, but I think that would have been it.
There, when I asked you to send all those MWI skate decks.
Yeah. There we go.
That were kept in pristine condition until the day we moved, and then Jensen and Lewis decided to scrape around the tile floor on them and destroy the bottom of them both. So they're fired. Well, guys, thank you. Thanks so much for talking to us today. As always, I say this every time, and I guess it's genuine, but really excited to hear from you guys. I think a lot of people have seen or heard about Lo Beeston on Instagram or YouTube, or I believe you're pretty dang TikTok famous at this point as well, Lauren.
Big in China.
Taking over the world with TikTok. I'm really excited to hopefully get a little bit from your guys' background, and I really want to dive into some process and strategy and approach. And as always, talk about how you find hope in all of this crazy world that you guys are living in. So thanks so much for taking some time to talk to us.
Yeah, of course.
You two met, far as I can remember, you met in high school.
That's right.
That's when the T Beesto, Lo Beeston love story begins. So Lauren, walk us through meeting Tanner in high school and what that was like.
Okay, so when I first met Tanner, I guess I didn't remember this, but recently I went back to my yearbook and I thought we met my junior year, which would have been 2010. And that was his senior year. But I guess we met in 2009 because he signed my yearbook and basically just wrote hags in my yearbook. Like, never see you again. Like, hope you have a good one, kind of a thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, I guess. But at that point, that's when you just want everyone that you've ever seen at your high school to sign your yearbook. Just want to have everybody's signature. So I guess we met in 2009, but I was dating somebody else at the time. So I think that's why he kind of was just like, why am I signing? See you later. But I met him officially the next year. I was a cheerleader and we had a scrimmage game and he was in the stands like watching, and we all went to Sonic after. That's kind of our school's thing. And so I met him at Sonic and I had known about Tanner, thought he was super cute. My best friend at the time, like, introduced me kind of. I was like, oh yeah, I want to go sit over there. So we kind of bonded over a lemon berry slush, and then we never stopped hanging out after that. So that's kind of how we met. And he was super shy in high school, and I was kind of this crazy,
super not shy.
Yeah, just opposite of that. And I think we brought a lot of good out of each other in that year that we had together in high school. And
so, what was your first impression of Lauren? Tanner being this. I'm picturing Tanner as just this really shy guy in the stands, not on the field in the football game, but just up in the stands by himself.
Yeah, that corner by myself.
He was a baseball player, and so I didn't cheer at those games. So he would always be at the games that I was cheering at.
So super shy, naturally, just like always had like one or two friends. Lauren was everybody's her best friend, like 40 people surrounding her all times. But I remember seeing her at Sonic, kind of realizing that she wasn't with other boy that she used to be dating, and just loud
opportunity.
Yeah. Just like stuck out so much. Just she gives off a really like bright poppy aura that you're just immediately attracted to. And so I heard her first. Her laugh, probably.
I was probably trying to be like, I'm going to make him like, look over here.
Yeah.
But
just just like a super fun energy that was immediately attractive.
You were at Lehigh High School, right?
Lehigh High School.
Awesome. And that's where you guys are at right now, back in your old stomping grounds.
Yeah, we're back here.
Coming in live from Utah, right?
Yep.
Just for this podcast.
You went all the way to your studio in Lehigh just for
Yes.
So you dated in high school. Let's fast forward a little bit because we could get into I know there's a lot of great stories. Let's fast forward a little bit. I want to know when you kind of reconnected after high school. Did you know from the beginning? I mean, did you guys talk about that early on? Like, oh, one day we want to get married, or was that something that came a little bit later?
Yeah, I think I instantly was smitten by Tanner, and I like halfway through like being with him, I like was like, I want to like marry him, which was crazy. And I don't think we said like, I love you or anything like that until the end, like it was prom. So the end of that year. But yeah, I knew I wanted to I would have married him in high school if he didn't serve a mission. Like I would have just gone and said, yep, let's get married, you know? So I think I knew I wanted to marry him in high school, but obviously there was a long time in between that we had to go. And that was the unknown, and that was scary, but I always knew I wanted to end up with him in that moment.
Josh, this sounds remarkably similar to you and Bryn's love story.
Yeah, not quite.
A little bit different. Okay. So now again on Instagram, Low Beeston, and wait, is your YouTube channel the same? Is it Low Beeston?
Yeah.
And then TikTok's the same. So LOBESTON, right? Have you always been creative? Is that something that you've always been drawn to? I guess the other question is, would you say that first and foremost, you're a videographer, photographer?
Yeah. So I think I have had a creative personality. I've always known that that's my favorite thing to do, is to create something, like using my hands and being hands-on and stuff like that. And I didn't start doing video until like my junior year of high school, and then got more serious my senior year. I didn't know it could be a career though. So I was just like, this is really fun. I took video classes, and all my guy friends were like super into it. So it was really fun to like learn from them. And then Instagram started, like I didn't get an Instagram until my senior year of high school. That's kind of when people were just posting like fruit roll-ups and like, you know, if you followed your 5 best friends, and it was just like for you guys to post weird stuff.
Yeah.
So that was kind of not really a thing.
And that was what year? 2011?
That was 2012. Well, 2011 to 2012. Yeah.
Okay.
So I had an Instagram my senior year, but I wasn't creating content that was like this gorgeous stuff. It was just more to like document my time.
Do you still have those on your Instagram?
I have most of them. Yeah.
Some of them had to get archived.
Some of them.
Why is that, Tanner?
There were a few other gentlemen in the runnings.
Yeah. So I always feel like I've had a creative side. And I actually recently asked, my mom kind of brought up this question of like, if I were to describe each of my kids in one word, she kind of told me what my dad and my mom had picked for each of the kids. And mine was like creative. And so I think I've always had that side of me, but I didn't start doing video like as a job until that summer after I graduated high school. And then I like filmed my first wedding, and I was like, wait, you can get paid doing this? Like, This is a job I can do. And because at the time I was going to school to be a nutritionist. I just thought like, okay, nothing creative. You can't really do anything creative with like a career. You can't really make money that way. So I was like, okay, what else am I passionate about? I guess nutrition. Let's go down that route. So I was in the middle of doing that my first year of college. And I like shot my first wedding, and I was like, wait a second, this is way more fun. Like, I like this. And
was the name on Instagram, was your handle always Low Beeston? Is that like a nickname? Have you always gone by Low as a nickname or something, or was that changed later?
I think, no, I first had Laura Williams was my.
Oh yeah, duh. That was a question.
I didn't always have Beeston. I like meet Tanner. I put Beeston as my last name.
That would have been a creepy move. I don't know if that would have
I was for sure writing. I was practicing my last name for sure, but I wasn't that bold to put.
Okay, yeah, that was it.
I had people would call me Lolo or Low, but it wasn't until college that like I kind of just wanted something different. I had probably met 10 Laurens that were like around me. And I was like, this sucks. Like everyone's name is Lauren. I've always been a person that kind of wants to stand out, or I don't know. I've always wanted like something a little bit unique or different. And so my name is Lauren Marie Williams, which is, there's a million of that. So I kind of started introducing myself as Lo, and it stuck like right at the beginning of college. And that's just kind of how that happened.
I didn't know her as Lo, and because I was gone for 2 years on my mission. When I left, she was still Lauren. And then I came back to Lo 2.0 upgrade, which was awesome. But yeah, it was cool.
That right there is a confidence move. I don't know a lot of people that would say there's too many people with my name. I'm just going to start introducing myself as this. I like it better.
Yeah. And I always was the one to give other people their nickname. Like I kind of love giving people like these fun little nicknames, and nobody ever gave me the nickname. So I was like, I'm just going to give it to myself, start over in college and just, give me the nickname that I want. So that's kind of how Lo was started, I guess.
Okay. You had that first paid gig and you said it was a wedding. So you did it. Was it all video for somebody's wedding?
Yeah, it was.
Did you seek that out, or did it come to you? How did you get that first client?
Actually, at the time, was dating somebody. And he was a videographer. So he was like, hey, like, would you like to come just like have a second camera and like get, second angle shots for me? And I wasn't getting paid or anything, but I thought that sounded really fun. And I was like, yeah, I'll for sure come. And then I did that with him, and I helped edit the video. And I was like, wait, like you guys are getting paid to do this? Like, this is crazy. This is so fun. And that's kind of how I was like, hey, wait, I could probably do this on my own. And my very first wedding that I filmed on my own was later that year. It was one of my roommates in college. She was like, I charged literally $100. That was my very first like paid job doing a video. And so I was really grateful that she trusted me to do it. I grew a lot from that wedding video, but I am still really proud of it just because it's my first one and it's pretty cool.
So did you feel going into that, did you feel prepared? Like, oh, I've got this. This is easy. Or did you feel?
It was terrifying. It was so scary because weddings in and of itself, it's like, there's so much pressure. Yeah. It's like, they're not going to repeat, getting married, and you
can't do a second take.
Yeah. Can you do that one more time? Like I missed it. And so it's really scary going into your first one. I think the night leading up to the wedding, I watched probably 50 other wedding videos just to get ideas for a shot list, like styles that I like, what I can do beforehand to prepare to go in there and feel like, okay, like stand like this or do this for me, and know like how I want the video to come out. So I definitely was nervous, but once I started, it was nice that I knew the couple because it made me feel more comfortable, and they knew it was my first ones. Ended up being really good, but I was definitely nervous for my first one by myself.
That's awesome. That is a great story. And I want to call attention to this because I've talked to so many young entrepreneurs, whether it was when I was teaching or, or even entrepreneurs now that we work with at MWI or whatever. But the process that you went through, heard that so many times from successful entrepreneurs that said, I saw an opportunity. I didn't realize I could make money doing this. An opportunity presented itself. And where a lot of people would in that situation say, oh, I have no idea how to shoot a video. Like I've never done this before. I've only helped edit one or two, right? Like that's where you were at in your whole videography career, right? A lot of times insecurity gets the best of you and you bail in that situation, but you stayed up all night the night before. You watched a ton of videos. You used all of the resources that were available to you to learn as fast as you could and to create something with really not a ton of background or experience, but just to kind of open up that door and get your foot in the door. That's huge.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy to think if you wouldn't have done that, if in that moment you would have said, no, I'm not good enough yet. I don't want to do that. I mean, look at where we're at now, right? It'd be a whole different story probably.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Eventually Instagram started taking off a little bit. And was that kind of your first, so you started doing weddings and then did you start sharing that content on Instagram? Is that how you kind of started to get a little traction?
Yeah. And I had probably, I don't know, 500 followers at the time. So nothing big. It felt like a lot. I think
I have like 505 right now. So
exactly. Like it felt it, and it's like, that's a lot of people that like see your stuff. I don't I don't know. So it felt like I was like, okay, like if I share this, somebody will see it and they'll tell their sister, their brother, whatever. And that's kind of how it started, because every couple that I got wasn't specifically like, I saw your Instagram. It was like, hey, you filmed my cousin's wedding. Like, she referred me to you. So it's all referral based in the beginning.
And imagine if like 20 years ago or 30 years ago, if you were trying to be a photographer, videographer for weddings, and you took a picture or video and you wanted 500 people to see that. Because at the time when you shared it to your Instagram back then, 500 people saw it, right? It was going to pop up on 500 people's feed. It's a little different now, as you know.
So different.
But you would have had to like go peddle it on the street or knock doors or send it out in the mail like and hope that people saw it.
Exactly.
It's crazy. So the fact that, I love that you call that out, because 500 people now, when you're looking at, 190,000 followers on Instagram, that's, I looked 180, yesterday was 189 when I was doing a little research. Today was 190. So congrats on another 1,000. 500 people is a lot of people. If you put 500 people in a room and you can show them your art, that's huge, right? And it used to be very difficult to do, but even 500 people, 600 people, whatever, that's a ton of people to see what you're putting out into the world.
Exactly.
Back then, people didn't share their wedding videos. I mean, you got a wedding video taken in your photos, and then you like framed the photos and put them up in your house or something maybe, but it's not like your friends would come over and you'd be like, hey, let's watch our wedding video. But now people get a wedding video made and it goes up on YouTube, it goes on Instagram. And so everybody's seeing your work, not just on your profile, but on that person's profile.
Yeah. And that's something else that was really tough in the beginning, is I knew nobody else that was a female videographer. I had one girl was like my inspiration, and she, her name's Haley Devine, and I knew her, and I didn't personally know her. I just knew of her and I saw her work, and I was like, okay, she's the only female videographer that I know of that does this and is successful at it. Like, that is kind of like my goal. But I would bring, like, Tanner would come with me to shoot weddings, and they would go up to Tanner, who knows nothing about video, and be like, how long have you been doing this? This is so cool. Like, thinking I was just the bad girl or whatever. And it was funny because he would have to say like, oh no, like, she's the videographer. I don't really know anything. I'm just here to like help her carry around her stuff or whatever. So that was also interesting, because in that time I knew there was nobody around me that was a female videographer at the time. So I was like, that was also kind of intimidating going into it, because I knew I was young. And so going to weddings, people were like, oh, she's young. Like, that was like scary for me, because I didn't want anybody to think that I was worse because I was a girl or because I was young. So I always had something to prove, like, like, I can do this just as good as he can,
So what was that process like? I mean, how did you hype yourself up in that situation? I'm just picturing you like staring in a mirror, like, you could do this. You could do it.
I think honestly, I wanted to prove that I could be just as good as a guy videographer. And so I would seriously watch so many wedding videos. I would write down a list of like shots that I loved, like what I can do to better my equipment. I would, like any money that I would make, I would put back into equipment, and like, how can I better these shots? How can I make this look more cinematic? How can I make this look more professional? How can I make this, interesting and creative and different? And so that was like a constant thing on my mind. And I think it really pushed me to get better and better, which was good in the end.
I love that, because there's so many people who, when they feel like they're being discriminated against or they're not getting a fair shot, they try to change the other person and say, you need to give me a fair shot. But you were like, no, I'm just going to go out and work harder and prove myself and make it so people can't ignore me. And I love that attitude.
What the heck is that attitude? Like, I want to figure out how to bottle that up, because again, having talked to so many people and myself kind of constantly being in this battle, what, and you guys, anybody shout it out, because there's people that in that situation say they have that competitive, is it competitiveness? Is it like ambition? What is it like in that moment? How do some people rise up and say, yeah, I'm going to make this happen, and some people say, nah, I don't want to put myself out there like that, or I'm not good enough yet?
I think it's a little bit of confidence in yourself, knowing that you can do it, and telling yourself you can do it is really huge. Because if you shut yourself down, you're like, they're right, like, this is so dumb, I shouldn't be doing this, like, I'm not qualified to do this, then immediately you're going to be worse.
Yeah.
If you tell yourself, like, you're really good at this. I know you're a natural at doing this. If you work really hard, like you can get better and better. That's automatically going to make you better. So I think it's a little bit of confidence. I think it's a little bit of, like you said, competitive. I'm really competitive. So that comes into play. And then just like wanting to do better. And I think growing up in my household, my parents are divorced, and I always knew that we were struggling for money. And that was something that like I really wanted to never feel that way in my family. And that's hard because you want the best for your family. And my mom is amazing. And she was a single mother, like raising 3 kids. She did like the absolute best for the circumstances that was given to her. But it was definitely always a little bit scary knowing that we had one income, you know, and it just was different than the friends around me. A lot of people around me were normal to successful families. And I tried to pretend like I was in that category, I think, a lot. But I knew I always wanted to push myself to never feel that way. So I think that also comes from that background. And
there's just a lot of those intangibles, right? Those variables that you can't recreate, that, you know, you were in that exact circumstance and made the most of it. And I'm constantly in a journey to try to figure out what that X factor is. And thanks for sharing, because that's great background. Tanner, you looking at this from the outside in, I mean, again, from high school all the way to, how long have you guys been married now?
5 years.
Almost 5 years in September.
Nice. Yeah. Congrats. 5 years, half a decade. So Tanner, what does it look like for you from the outside looking in when you see, I mean, I know I've talked to you about this before, when you see Lauren like with a tight deadline or upset, you know, client that wants something else. I mean, and she gets it done, right? She shows up and she finds a way. What do you see from the husband and business partner perspective?
So something with Lauren, and I don't know how she acquired this so early on in life, is that she's always known that good things are going to happen to her. It was just funny because she would win all these giveaways on Instagram and stuff, and these lucky things always happen to her. And she always found $20 on the ground, and like she always had this like, but she just told everybody she was lucky. And when she came into my family, it was a total switch because, and we've talked about this before as well, but like my family growing up, I was on the worst baseball team for like 6 years in a row. And that was just because, as my mom put it, you know, Beestons are just losers and it's okay to lose. You know, we never really did anything great, and that's just kind of how it is. And I always know she was trying to console me, make me feel better. And in the moment it did, but I started to, and that was kind of ingrained in me. Whereas Lauren came in, you know, towards the end of my high school, and good things just happened to her. For the longest time, we just attribute it to luck. But it really is that mindset of looking to the positive outcome. She's really, really naturally good at that, even with that upbringing. And so she sees, you know, when you talk about tight deadlines or angry clients or whatever it may be, she knows that it's going to be a positive outcome. And so the process just happens for her, and she's able to make it happen, and good things always do happen to her. And it's really helped me change my mindset and really, really internalize that.
Yeah.
Abundance mentality, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Man, that's gold. And it's funny, that story resonates so much with me because I am in this, my family situation is very similar. Bridget's, my wife's family, is very much that positive, optimistic. It's all good. It's going to be fine. We're going to, you know, and things go well for us. And I'm in the Beeston family over here. Like, now we're all losers. So I appreciate you seeing that and appreciating that so much in Lauren. That's an awesome attribute.
But I would say that one thing Tanner has brought to me, I've always known that I'm just lucky. It's just these things that happen, and that happens to me. I've always worried because of my upbringing, I'm pretty sure. I've always worried about like, okay, like we can't really do this. Like, I'd rather just save money for this, or I've always kind of had that little dark cloud over my head of like, I just don't want to hit a point where I feel like we're out of control and we don't have, you know, the money for certain things, or like we can't pay for rent or whatever it is. And Tanner never, ever worries about that. Like, he has that, you know, positive outlook on that part of life where he's like, it's going to be okay. We're going to be fine. And even when we had $1,000 in our bank account and the next month we had to pay rent, you know, we made it work. And I've really appreciated him bringing that to the table because it's really opened my eyes. That's the reason we moved to Hawaii. Like, I would have never done that on my own if I didn't have somebody else telling me that everything was going to be okay. We just had to be smart.
Sounds like a great partnership.
Yeah.
I appreciate all the background. That's gold. Let's fast forward a little bit. You now currently live in Hawaii. You've been there for what? I mean, for all 5 years of marriage, I think, right?
I think 4 years of it.
Yeah,
the first year we were in Utah.
Okay. You've got 190,000 followers on Instagram. Your YouTube channel, I think you've got somewhere close to 30,000 subscribers, and it looks like some really great traction on a lot of the videos there. I don't have TikTok on my phone anymore. I have a love-hate relationship, as Tanner may know. How many followers do you have on TikTok right now?
I think it's around 660,000.
Wow. A lot of times people look at you on Instagram or your family. By the way, your beautiful baby Ozzy is the cutest thing ever.
She really is.
And so it's easy for people to judge influencers, in the world we live in right now, and just be like, whatever. Like, that's just pictures and who knows, whatever. Like, but it takes a lot of hard work and effort to be genuine in that whole process. So we'll talk about that. But two, I've seen firsthand, having followed you for a long time, and also, knowing you guys personally, it's insane how much hard work it takes to build that type of following and that type of engagement and that type of, at this point, business, right? How the heck do you do that? I mean, what's been the
transition there? Like, how'd you get from making wedding videos for other people to doing your own stuff? And can I still hire you to make a wedding video?
Yeah, that's actually a recent thing that we've stopped offering. And it's really crazy because the last, how many years have I done it? Since 2012. I've had that as my profession name. Like, it was Lauren Beeston Films, and that was what I did. And that's always what I told people. I'm a wedding videographer. And I think it was hard to say, I'm not a wedding videographer anymore, because I think I used it as a crutch as well. Because
was that difficult to give up, since you can make money doing that, and yet you're just walking away from it?
Yeah. And I think more so I love it. It was an amazing time in my life. And I think it also used it as a crutch because other people don't really see my job as a job. And so I always had, and it was in the beginning, being a wedding videographer, I would say that and people would be like, what do you mean? Like, you make money doing that? Like, how much money? And they were super confused about that. But in the end, like, that became, okay, yeah, I can see that being a job. Like, I can see how you make money. And that kind of became my crutch I'm not an influencer. I'm just a wedding videographer, And I never wanted to admit that I was just one. Yeah, we recently decided to stop offering wedding videos and go full time in my Low Beeston business and YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and all that. It was a difficult decision, but your question was how to get there, or how did I make it?
Yeah, walk me through the process a little bit. So that's it. I appreciate the follow-up from Josh, because you went from, who knew you could make money doing wedding videos, to, now I'm making a living doing wedding videos, and that's my profession, to, people like what I'm creating, and now I'm starting to gain traction on Instagram, to, now I've got a decent Instagram following, maybe I should do some other stuff. And so you start YouTube, and then, TikTok comes out of nowhere. And so this whole process, that's a huge question, but I guess just walk me through it a little bit. Just tell the story of how those transitions have happened, and how you got from where you started to an amazing following and great business.
Yeah. Well, I think we lived in Utah, and I think I had 1,000 followers by the time Tanner and I were married, which was a big deal for me. I was like, 1,000 followers. That is crazy. That's so cool. And I was just doing wedding videos, mostly based on referrals from other wedding videos. And then it started becoming super saturated. I could charge barely anything for a wedding video, and I had already been doing it for a few years. And then Tanner brought up, I'd really like to move to Hawaii. I think we should do this. And Tanner had a pretty good job at the time. And I was like, we just got married. Like, you have this good job. What are you thinking? And we kind of wrote out a pros and cons list. And the only pro for Hawaii was that it was Hawaii. But it ended up being enough for both of us to say,
such a good pro, though.
Yeah, such a good pro. And so we ended up being enough for us. And we were like, let's do it. Let's go out there, let you finish school. And the plan was really to just have him finish school and probably return to Utah. But then we moved to Hawaii. And I think that in and of itself is people kind of are interested in that. They're like, this isn't a usual thing that people do. And so I think a little bit more traction came up. I would go and do videos just like on my own. I think that's when I did some of my first collaborations, like with other brands. And I would do videos for them and post them to I would just usually do them for trade or like a couple $100s.
You mentioned earlier that there was not a lot of female videographers. Mm-hmm. And you saw that as an opportunity, and you also saw it as a big motivator, especially from that competitive side, to say, I can do exactly what this guy can do, if not way better, right? Is that different now?
Now I would 100% say it's different. I have a lot of followers I know that have messaged me about being a videographer and saying, you know, like, I've seen your wedding videos and I'd love to do this. And it's really, really cool that there's a bunch more girls that are doing this now. Because it used to be where I sat in the waiting room for people and it was just me with like 6 other guys that were waiting for their brides to come or whatever. And now I can go in and expect there to be, you know, half girls, half boys, or even all girls. So it's cool that that's changed and that there's definitely a lot more girls doing it.
And I personally know multiple on like my family side with nieces and stuff who have followed you for a really long time. And I think that's why. I think because people like you have been an example and have taken that step to say, I can do this and I can do it better and I can be right at the top of my game. And I have a lot of nieces that have followed you and a lot of other people like you that are now doing the exact same thing. And I love that process, right? That kind of evolution right there. That's huge.
It's really cool.
So shout out to Lo Beeston from all the 15-year-old girls out there. On behalf, I don't know if I'm allowed to do that on behalf of 15-year-old girls, but so now fast forwarding again, you got to Hawaii. Now tell me about how many people have you seen now move to Hawaii just because they want to have followers on Instagram?
Oh, that's like I don't know. I feel like that's yeah.
That's changed a lot, and I think you are a big reason for that. You and a lot of people that you work with and collaborate with that have gained these big followings, right? The beauty of that place and it's not even just the location itself, but it's almost like it starts a fire creatively to be in that type of beauty all the time, right?
Oh yeah. Beautiful. I think I have to also bring up that like when I moved out, I met a girl named Heather Goodman. I'm sure a lot of people know that name.
Shout out HB Goody.
Yeah. My really good friend. And she is a big reason that I started believing in myself more, that I could do Instagram and all that stuff, because she at the time, I think, had 40 or 50,000 followers. And that to me was like, oh my gosh, like you have like made it. Like that is crazy. And to me, I thought, you know, I don't know. I always hoped, and we had always like dreamed of something like that happening so that I can get more clients or whatever it was. She really helped me like show me, you know, like this is how I create a really good like profile, or like this is how I create interesting posts. And she was really a mentor to me at the time to how I can better my Instagram page or like better showcase my work and all that stuff. So I really attribute a lot of that to Heather in the beginning. When I moved out, she was really like a mentor to me.
I was going to ask actually who your biggest mentors were, and I thought that might be the case. I have seen from the outside looking in, I know you guys well. I know Heather a little bit, not quite as well. From what I've seen, and maybe Tanner, you can help, because again, I like your objective, you know, kind of you're in it, but you're also kind of watching, you know, a lot of this with Lauren. I've looked and been so impressed with Heather that she didn't like take this thing that she had and this like skill that she had developed and hide it from anybody and like be real secretive about it, or like, oh no, and close herself off. It seems to me, and I know a lot of people that follow you on social media see a lot of your friends on social media as well that live close to you, and ironically all have babies the same age. And I know that's been a question. I saw that YouTube video where you and a lot of your friends kind of addressed that, like, did we plan on having babies at the same time? But Heather was kind of like the godfather of this whole thing, right? She was out there and doing it, and then you guys all started coming, and it seems to me that she was just very selfless and generous with this process and this opportunity that she had found, and really helped kind of push you guys in that direction. So I guess first, Tanner, from the outside looking in, I mean, what's your take on that? Yeah.
So we, like Lauren said, we moved out there hoping that we would be able to, you know, still with that wedding video.
Did you follow HB Goody before going out there? Did you know of that at all?
I actually had seen her on my Instagram, but I wasn't following her at the time. We randomly met like at a beach through a mutual friend. And it feels like after we met, we just were friends after that. Like there was no, like, it was like we weren't friends and then we were best friends kind of a thing.
yeah, so Lauren was doing wedding videos and we're like, okay, you can do that from anywhere. That'll give us something. I had no idea. Like Lauren said, I had a good job. I was doing sales at Vivint and it was going really well. And just left that in hopes that I would just figure something out while I was there. And so Heather actually helped both of us a lot. Her and Bryant, mostly Heather. Sorry, Bryant. But we got there and we became friends with them. We met them at the beach. And because of her generosity and her, she just wanted to help those around her to be able to do what she was doing. She was getting money and being able to live in Hawaii.
At this time, she was a wedding photographer, but like was quitting.
Phasing out of wedding photography. Right. And we were just kind of in that middle of the wedding videography. But yeah, so anytime Lauren would hang out with her, she would come back just fired up, like, wait, I can do this, like this new confidence.
Because nobody around me in Utah was anywhere near doing anything with Instagram. Like that wasn't the thing. And
it was almost looked down upon.
Yeah. Like I almost felt like dumb if I was trying. So when it was such a breath of fresh air coming out to Hawaii and not being made fun of when I like went to take a picture for Instagram. Like it was a different thing. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like I remember telling Tanner, like, it's so cool that like I can take a picture and not feel like somebody's judging me that I'm taking a picture, kind of a thing. Like all I wanted to do was document our lives and like make really cool videos and take these really cool pictures. And it was really cool to see that like, Heather was doing the same thing and was like encouraging it instead of making me feel like it was dumb or like whatever.
Yeah. I remember Heather came, she's again, the interactions I've had with her, she seems like she loves to help. Right. And so I actually had her when I was teaching at BYU Hawaii, I had her come 3 years ago probably. And I think she had at the time, maybe 50,000 followers. And she came and spoke to my digital marketing class I just remember being so impressed with how prepared she was and how much detail and information she was giving to these students to try to like you could tell it was just so genuine that she wanted to help and support and help get them on their way. How important is that? Josh, I kind of want to throw the ball to you a little bit too, because I know you have a ton of experience with this, but that North Star or that example and that community that gives you the confidence to actually do and take steps without, because how unhealthy is that situation in Utah, right? Where before you were like, I don't know. I know this is a skill. I know I've got this desire to do this, but I don't want to feel dumb because people, are looking down on it. But then you see this person doing it and you get around a community that is supportive of it and it completely has changed the outcome. So how important is that North Star? How does that tie into all of that?
Well, that's kind of what I wanted to ask here to Lauren is that, I mean, it's easier when there's somebody blazing the trail for you, right? And then that you can turn to and just say, hey, how do I do this? And they can say, oh, just go here and do this. I mean, I know in my own career, I feel like I've had to figure a lot of things out because there wasn't somebody to help me. And sometimes I think, man, I probably could have saved like 3 months there of experimentation if somebody could have just told me what to do. I mean, is that kind of the role that Heather played for you, and have others played that role for you as well, helping you get started on this?
A huge thing for me was because I was still getting comments about like how dumb it was that I was actually trying on Instagram, or I would get called out for, it just doesn't seem like, I don't know, like I would feel so dumb. And then it would kind of taint, like every time I was about to post, I'd be like, oh, like, are they going to say anything? Are they going to think I'm dumb? It was such a huge thing for me because
became the voice in your head.
And I knew that what I was like doing could be real and had so much potential. But like when you're starting out and you don't have like the 30,000 followers to prove to people that it's working, it's like really, really scary to put yourself out there when people can all the time just talk to their friends about like, oh, this is so dumb, have to unfollow her. Or like, just the comments that are happening behind the scenes or even to you. It was everything that I had an example, and also telling me that like, don't listen to them. Like they're going to be the ones that are sad that they weren't nicer to you in the end, and that's totally, I've seen that happen. And another thing about having a mentor, I think one of the biggest things I started seeing success with is like in the beginning, I was so worried about like, what are they going to think? So I would just not fully be my genuine self. I would just try and hide little things, you know? And it wasn't until I started fully being a genuine Lauren and like low. Yeah. I like didn't see the success until I started like showing who I was and like posting what I felt like I wanted to post and sharing what I wanted to share and forgetting about what other people thought. Like that was such a huge hurdle that once we did that, that's when I started seeing success. And I like, that's what I tell other people. Like, I don't want you to post what I would post what you want to post and be genuine, because that's what people are drawn to. People are drawn to your uniqueness and your like amazing qualities that only you have. So that's always been like, I just tell people that are starting out that ask me like, what can I do? What can I do? I'm always like, it doesn't matter what other people think. People are going to say what they're going to say. And that's because they're probably jealous that you're doing what you're doing and putting yourself out there, and just be your full genuine self. And people are going to be drawn to that.
What are some of the common misunderstandings people have about you, Lauren, and what you're doing?
What would you say, Tanner?
I would say most people, Lauren, Corey asked a question a while ago, kind of how people are always talking about, influencers, like they're just posting this fake life. I think most of Lauren's success is due to the fact that she's never faked it. I mean, she talked about in the beginning being nervous about what to post and maybe not going full out like, this is who I am, whatever. But the reason that her following started to grow is because she was herself. She wasn't afraid to put some weird video. I guess I did a lot of the weird posting, but like, she'll like, hey, I'm fun. And this is who I really am. I'm not like always like fully makeup dressed in the prettiest, like I'm a normal person and this is my life. And she was always true and genuine to that and being herself. And a lot of people automatically assume if you have any sort of following that your life has to be fake and you're stuck up. And a lot of misunderstanding or common misconception too is that it was given to you, that your parents must have been rich in order for you to live in Hawaii, and that's the rich get richer. Mm-hmm. Like they sent you out there and now you're in this beautiful place, and they don't see a lot of the behind the scenes and the work that went into that. And so just being true through all of that,
because as much as Heather can tell me like this is how it works for me, or like gave me those little tips, like I had to find what worked for me, because it's not going to be the same for every person.
Right. And exactly. If Lauren would have posted with a Heather style, which is her style and it's amazing and it's done really well for her, we wouldn't have seen near as much success as we have, because, we're just, they're kind of trying to imitate the person right above us instead of, it's a real short-term strategy instead of the long-term, let's be ourselves and be true and genuine.
Yeah.
I remember when we started talking about TikTok, and meaning Tanner and I, and this was maybe a year and a half ago. I don't know. When was that, Tanner? A year and a half ago, probably.
Yeah.
And I remember saying like, this seems like it would be perfect for Lauren because I had seen your video and I had seen the really funny side of you, and you're naturally really funny. And I remember thinking like, oh, I wouldn't necessarily always know that looking at Instagram, because Instagram is very specific, right? The type of audience and the type of content on there. And I remember seeing TikTok. I'm like, oh man, I want to see like Yum powdered sugar on TikTok, right?
Yeah.
Is that what it was? Is powdered sugar? Like,
powdered sugar.
Yeah.
True ones.
Yeah, the true ones. So I remember seeing that and thinking like, oh, and we started talking about it anyways. Obviously that was a long time ago and you guys have done amazing things on there since then. But how do you notice being that true, genuine self? Like, how does that translate to different platforms? Because the audience on each one of those platforms is a little bit different, and the styling and the messaging is a little bit different. So Instagram versus YouTube versus TikTok. I mean, how do you kind of, silo those different platforms and strategically create content for each one of those based on who's looking and what type of content you put on there?
I think that's also huge. Is Instagram is more like you're putting out content that people are going to be entertained by or see beautiful places. And it's really fun to be able to have TikTok and YouTube, because on YouTube, I'm so like unfiltered and we literally go and do fun things. And that's what we post on YouTube, and people can see our personalities. And that's been huge for us, because I think if you just look at Instagram, a lot of those assumptions can be made just by looking at a pretty picture. But then if they go and they actually try starting to get to know me, like through YouTube or through TikTok, that's when people become like, oh, like she's actually this type of person. Like I would assume it was this, but it's really fun to see her weird side, or it's really fun to see like her be like let loose and just do whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And so
they're all just kind of like pieces of the pie. Like,
yeah.
And you know, Lauren's great at knowing how to make a picture look perfect, how to place it. Everything is in its place. The lighting's correct. Everything is perfect about it. And she's really good at that. So Instagram.
And that doesn't mean that like the Instagram is fake, because I actually really enjoy taking beautiful photos.
Right.
And
it's the process. You enjoy the process, right? It's not
making something look really good.
It really depends on what the end motivation is. Your end motivation is to provide value and beauty and something of really great quality to the audience, to the people that are looking at you. It's not, how do I make this look fake so I look good? Right?
Yeah.
It's the process. It's the art of it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Whereas the other two, she can just showcase other sides of her that are harder to show on that platform. So the combination has been awesome just to have the full effect.
Yeah. And having more like doing things on my stories or whatever. I'm trying to like have more of that. So
how do you manage the day to day? So getting into more of like the logistics. So now, again, a year ago, I think you were mainly just doing Instagram. Mm-hmm. You transitioned to starting to do some YouTube videos, 6, 8, 12 months ago, and TikTok, obviously, as that's kind of evolved over the last year. Mm-hmm. Do you, for your workflow now, looking at like more the business side of it and you guys working together on this, do you have days of the week where you focus on certain channels, or is it just like we create all of the content and then we repurpose that content for the different channels based off of, you know, what type of stuff we get? Or, I mean, how are you planning this and actually executing it from a business and content standpoint?
This is where Tanner comes in handy with my creative side. I don't have that schedule oriented brain. I need it to be written out for me and I have to like see it. And Tanner's really good at scheduling things and, you know, like reminding me, you know, we have this tomorrow. But what's really cool about our like channels and like our page is a lot of our stuff is just sharing what we're doing in our life and entertaining it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really cool because we're not like, unless we're shooting for a brand, it's like, let's go do this really fun, like hike, or let's go swim Waimea or whatever it is. And we can just naturally be like, okay, like this 10 minutes, we're going to take pictures to like document this moment. And then we're going to put the camera down and enjoy doing this activity. So that's really nice because I feel like it comes really naturally so that nothing really feels forced. And then for YouTube, that's like for Instagram, and for YouTube, we usually plan like a day a week that we do something for YouTube, and whether it's like a vlog, so we just go and plan a bunch of fun stuff to do, or it's like we're going to talk about our lives or answer questions that we get or whatever it is. We usually plan a day for YouTube. And then TikTok is just like kind of spur of the moment stuff that we think would be fun or funny to share. So
Tanner, on the project management side of all that, do you have any like approach or tools or anything that you're using?
Yeah, I shout out Michelle.
I was going to say, I'm going to take full credit for everything you say after this.
No, I'm giving this one to Michelle, dude. Yeah, that's actually, I mean, one of my biggest, from working at MWI, one of the biggest things that I took away skill-wise is learning how to manage projects and make sure things are done on time, and a lot of trial and error there. So we use Trello just because it's free and we can just make checklists. And if you set it up the right way, it's a really good tool. And so something that really helps us prioritize our time, a lot of things, you know, some Stephen Covey type stuff and essentialism type things is taking a day of the week and just weekly planning and making sure that we're getting all those big stones placed in our bucket before we start filling it up with sand, things that are high priority, but not necessarily things with a deadline. And that's where we've really been able to stay ahead is not just like planning out, oh shoot, this is due tomorrow, let's do this today, kind of day by day type things. But like, hey, in a couple months from now, we really want to release a new preset pack for photo presets. So we need to schedule that in this week because that's something that's really important, although the deadline is pushed out. So that's something that we've really been focusing on. The other thing that's really helped us...
A whiteboard.
is a whiteboard. The whiteboard that I got back from you is we just don't have a lot of time now. Even though both of us are full-time doing this, we still have our little 1-year-old who, although she is a great sleeper, she's still awake and needing somebody's attention for majority of the day. And so first thing in the morning, we meet together and we write down, we try to keep it a pretty small list, 5 or 6 things, not overwhelm ourselves. And then we go through and label a T and an L for who's responsible for what. And then each of us goes through and numbers and prioritizes.
So Tanner would be like, what's the most important thing that you have to get done today? And I'll list it out that way.
Yeah.
And for my crazy brain that gets anxious thinking about all the things I need to do, it's calmed me down so much.
Oh, that's a game changer.
Being able
I'm
to
the same as you. Yeah.
see it on the whiteboard. I'm like, oh, I have 3 things that I need to get done today. That's not bad.
The amount of times I've heard Lauren say, I have 1 million things to do today.
Jordan's like, no, you don't.
Let's write it down. Oh, you have 4 things to do today.
Yeah.
And they can be done. And if you
I love it.
But the second I write it down, it's okay, now that it's written, I feel so much more confident that I can get this done today. Because when it's just jumbled in my head, I'm like, what if I forget? Or, there's so many things.
Exactly. I think a lot of people have that problem, right? I'm the same exact way.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It feels terrible. Because then you lay down at night and you're like, oh my gosh, I did forget that. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Yeah. Or if you don't write it down and set the goal to get it and prioritize like that, you could do 100 things in a day. And at the end of the day, you'll lay down and think, what did I get done today? But when you put it out there and then you execute on it, you feel so accomplished, right? And you feel like, oh man, I conquered the day today.
That's another thing Tanner's really helped me out with is I start thinking of a million other things that that I
maybe 4.
I'll start working on something and I'll remember a random thing that I have to get done in a couple days. So I'll start working on that. And then it's okay, well, I didn't get done today what I needed to get done because I moved on to other things. I got distracted. So that's been a huge thing for me is writing down what am I going to get done today? I'm going to prioritize these. And if I get done early, then sweet, I can move on and think about something else I can do or just, have the rest of the day to hang out with Ozzy. Yeah, that's been a huge game changer for us. Because before it was just jumblehead Lauren, running around oh, Tanner, I have to do this. And he's like, well, why don't you tell me or whatever? So
again, what a great collaboration, right? Team effort. That's a perfect example of both of you coming to the table with your strengths and building something great as you both focus on your strengths. That's awesome.
Talking about this teamwork and everything, what are the hard parts about being married and doing this stuff as a team? I mean, there's got to be some challenges that come up there as well.
Oh yeah,
not at all. We've never ever had conflict.
So we obviously think very differently about how to get things done. And we've got this system now that works pretty well. And obviously still our natural tendencies kick in. And Lauren loves to be sporadic about things like, oh my gosh, pull over. There's some cute flowers right there. We need to take a quick pic. And I'm like, oh, sorry, that's not in the schedule. We
it's very scheduled.
Can't do that. We got to be back to the house or whatever. So little things like that come up all the time. And it's super interesting because it's literally it's this job that's 24/7 from, laying in bed at night, first thing when we wake up, it's always on our mind. And because we're documenting our life in a sense and posting that.
Yeah.
And
so how do you take a break from that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that was hard in the beginning. There's a lot of pressure to be constantly doing the next thing. There's a lot of pressure to be keeping up with those around you. We have a unique friend group where everybody does the same thing, which although you try not to compare yourselves, it's somewhat inevitable. Yeah. In the sense, it's just it's a unique situation. Sometimes weirds me out, but it's awesome.
It's the best, but also you're wait,
it makes it hard sometimes. Yeah. And so, we just a few months ago really had to sit down and just say, what is our main priority? Are we just trying to play catch up with the other, 1,000 influencers that we look up to, or are we actually doing what we love to do? And if they didn't exist, would we still do what we're doing if they weren't a factor? So we've had some good talks about it. And I think that in itself has really helped us see what our end goal is. Mm-hmm. And where we want to be, in the next 5 or 10 years and zero in on that goal and our process and our day to day and our minute to minute, and make sure that we're not going overboard and that we cut off,
anything we don't want to do.
Like if it's it's 8 p.m. and all of a sudden we're like, oh shoot, I had to send that email and and technically probably should go send it. It's like, no, Ozzy's only awake for, another hour. We're going to go play with Ozzy, and just turn everything off. It's hard when that's just constantly on your mind, but it's been good to just realize the end goal, and Will doing this, into the wee hours of the night and constantly stressing about it actually helped. Probably not.
I think that was a huge game changer for us, is literally when we start using, we got to have these weekly meetings and we got to prioritize what makes us happy. Like, where do we see the potential for us and where do we want to go with this? And kind of zeroing back to that very first thing that I was saying is, how can we be the most genuine to ourselves, and how can we share positivity, and how can we be helpful to other people? And I don't even know how to word that.
I think, the main idea, and I got it from that book, Essentialism, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have read, but the saying less but better really, really has been helping us. And that's where it kind of came, that prioritizing the list, like, hey, let's just do like a few things today and do them really well. Yeah. And let's not try to do a million things. And I know Corey said this a lot, one of the greatest things about digital marketing is that there's 1,000 different things that you can do. It's also the worst part about digital marketing, because there's just so many directions you can go. The same thing applies, where you could always be doing something to put yourself one step ahead. But when it comes down to it, if you can do less, but do that less better, you're just happier and more productive. Yeah,
definitely. That's been a huge help for us.
We've mentioned Ozzy a few times, so now let's make Ozzy the star of the show for a second.
About time.
About dang time.
The real reason people are here.
Yeah. So how has creating a human life and having a baby and starting a family, how has that changed your outlook on life generally, and how has that given you hope?
Well, for one, I have a lot more anxiety. No, I'm just kidding.
Let's start with that and then go only up from here.
Yeah. No, I think it just puts everything more into perspective and grounds us even more that there's something bigger than work, and that's taking care of our family and providing for her and working really hard, but also not letting that take over, and actually living our life with her and watching her grow and teaching her. And so that has been huge change, because before Ozzy, like before kids, you just live a very selfish life.
Me, I, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or when you're married and early married, it's us, we, right?
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just how it is. And then all of a sudden you bring this life into the world and you're like, all I need is to take care of this baby. And so things change, and like priorities change. And I think with Ozzy, I just want to make sure that I can be a really good example of how to, like work hard and be confident, but also like putting your family first and prioritizing real, genuine moments with each other. So that's been kind of the change for me.
Yeah. And going back to what I was saying about like, what is our end goal and how are we prioritizing what we ultimately want to end up with? One of the biggest perks of this job is being able to work from home or wherever home is at the moment, and being able to be with your family all the time. But there are days when, you just get caught up in whatever, and you're working all day and you're like, I'm at home. I can hear Ozzy in the other room and I haven't seen her all day. And like, it really takes you back. You're like, that's not why we're doing this. Like, we want to do this so that I can spend a lot of time with my daughter and watch her grow up. And that's been one of the coolest parts about this. And so just remembering where the priority. So it's just been awesome to just have her around and just like realize why we're doing what we're doing. And that's to help her and future kiddos.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see more future kiddos from the Beestons. What was the conversation like when you guys are now preparing to have a baby? Obviously, you've mentioned multiple times that your job is to document your life, right? And you've done a really great job of documenting. I mean, the video that you guys, I think, was it on YouTube? I think you've shared it on a couple places, but it went viral. Just the announcement that you're having a baby, right? When you were telling people, like, all the way from that, all the way through to now, Ozzy's over a year old, and she's on Instagram every day. And YouTube. And I mean, What were those conversations like to determine how you were going to raise a kid with the entire world on social media watching?
Yeah.
Still figuring it out.
Yeah, definitely.
You're doing a great job. I'll tell you that right now. It seems like a good balance, but I'm curious about those conversations kind of behind the scenes, how you've talked about that and worked through that.
Yeah, I think we haven't even really had a full conversation specifically about like.
Well, let's do it right now. No.
Yeah, honestly, I'm like passed out. No, I think a lot of the stuff I post is just so like natural for me. It doesn't feel forced. And so I think that same thing is with Ozzy. Like, she's such a cute baby. I literally want to remember these moments of her. And that's what I'm sharing is the parts that like I want to make sure to remember.
Like her sitting in the front seat for the first time and immediately putting a seatbelt on.
Exactly. I'm like, what the freak?
That was awesome.
Yeah. So I think with that, it hasn't really been an issue because we just want to, it's like so awesome to be doing YouTube. I feel like it's like upgraded family home video that we can always look back and like remember, and hopefully Ozzy appreciates it.
We'll find out.
I'm like, I would be stoked if like I had all these memories and like get to see this stuff from when I was a baby. So yeah, it's been really fun for us to like document those moments. So it hasn't really been an issue, I don't think.
Tanner, any other thoughts on that?
It's scary sometimes. Like, there's a lot of crazy people in the world, and it's like, and we have our brand new baby, and a lot of people are obsessed with her, which is awesome. And we're obsessed with her, and we love sharing our family, and she's part of our family. And so we're just continuing to do the same thing that we've been doing for the last, 3 or 4 years. But I think it's just about also just taking extra precautions now that we have Ozzy around and she's the most important. So we do little things like to make sure that she's safe. We're not posting about exactly where we live. We make sure that there's no landmarks around. We post our Instagram stories a little bit later, so they might not be exactly in time. We want to share what we're doing, but we're also trying to take precaution and just be safe and be smart about it. So.
Awesome. That's great information, because I think a lot of people wonder that. I know I have, and I know you guys personally, and I still wonder how you balance that a little bit. I think I've asked you in the past too. So appreciate the insight. So what is on the horizon at this point for Low Beeston? Again, we've mentioned the Instagram Low Beeston, YouTube Low Beeston, TikTok Low Beeston. I also saw that you just did a pretty cool collaboration with Thread Wallets. That looked awesome. So I want to hear a little bit about that. Do you have any other collaborations that are kind of coming up, or anything that you want to kind of shout out right now? Anything? What's next for you guys?
We want to continue to sell our online products and always be, evolving and making that better. So that's always on the horizon. What
are those online products?
So I sell video LUTs for all video, and that's basically just a video preset that makes your video look prettier. And that's what I use for all my wedding videos, and anytime I make a video, this is what I use on them. So I sell those, and then I sell photo presets. And I'm releasing new ones in about a month or so, the ones that I'm using currently. And I sell them for mobile and for digital photos on a camera. And then I think that's it on my website, right?
Right, yeah.
And
is it lowbeeston.com? What's the website?
Yeah, lowbeeston.com. And then on the horizon, you asked about Thread Wallets. That was I love Thread Wallets. I think they were one of my very first collaborations I ever did. And I've loved their products, and I love the company, and I love the people who own Thread Wallets. So it's such a cool
opportunity. Shout out to Kenzie and Colby. They're awesome.
Yeah, they're amazing. And so it was so fun to be able to work with them, because they're such a successful company, to see that side of a company and how much work goes into that. We were able to help design a couple of wallets with them, and that was such a cool process. And they're selling them on their website. And I don't know if it's on the near horizon, but I know we want to do our own little shop on our website. So it was fun to do that and kind of see how my audience would react to a product like that. So
the e-commerce side, right?
Yeah. So.
Cool. It looked awesome. I've seen the pictures and stuff. They look really good. That's such a fun collaboration. I thought that was awesome. Anyway, so moving on to
daisies would go well with
oh yeah. So Well, I know Josh and I both really appreciate you guys taking some time. We love you guys, man. It's been an absolute privilege for me to get to know Tanner really well and Lauren, you pretty well. And I'm stoked that you guys are doing YouTube and stuff now because we don't see each other as often anymore. And every now and then, Bridget and I will pull up and see what the Beestons are up to. And I know a lot of other people are doing that as well. So I've just been inspired from day one working. We didn't really directly mention it, but Tanner and I have worked together in the past here at MWI, our digital marketing agency, but just inspired by the ability to produce amazing content so consistently that's on brand and on point and on message, which is difficult to do, but also doing it while remaining so genuine and with your priorities straight. And also I love pulling back the curtain a little bit on some of your guys' processes and how much work it takes and how you've had to overcome a lot of things. So I think this is real valuable information and really appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to us and let us pick your brain a little bit.
Yeah, of course. This was so fun to, talk it out because you rarely get to do that. So it was really fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. We will talk to you guys very, very soon.
Okay.
Thanks so much, guys.
See ya.
Josh.